What's up, everybody? My name is Danielle, and I'm here to hopefully give you some advice and some insight on how to get into medical school. I hope that the tips that I have for you are valuable and they can kind of give you some insight on the whole process if you're unfamiliar with it. So just a little bit of background information about me. I am 26 years old, so I'm what you would consider a non-traditional applicant. I graduated from high school a year early. I went to community college and I was kind of taking every class under the sun. I mean, I took philosophy, anatomy and physiology, genetics, and like every class I took, I was like, ooh, I want to be that. Ooh, I want to be that. So I was kind of all over the place whenever I graduated, but eventually I was exposed to some health issues, in my family, and it kind of led me to medicine along the way. And so I ended up going to my local university and finished up with a biology degree. And in the meantime, I got married, and I've been married now for almost 3 years. And I'm also a mother. My son is now 7 months old, and I feel like that makes me a little bit different from some of the applicants that you might have seen or got some advice from. So this is for everyone, but especially for people who are kind of non-traditional. You're a parent, or you kind of didn't go the traditional 4-year route. I think I have some insight for you, and I hope I can help you out. So if you're interested in all of this information, then just keep watching. Okay, so what does it take to get into medical school? What are the basics? So for starters, you have to take an MCAT. Now, the MCAT was a little different when I took it. I know they're in the process of changing it. So when I took it, it was on a 0 to 45 scale, and most people got in the 20s, upper 20s to mid 30s range, and that covers biology, general chemistry, organic chemistry, and physics. So obviously you have to take all of those classes. You usually take a year's worth of all of those courses, and most schools require you at least take statistics or calculus of some sort. In addition to that, you also have to have letters of recommendation, typically from science professors that you know pretty well. You don't want to ask anyone for a letter of recommendation who you never met, you never went to their office hours. So I suggest getting letters from people that you really know, that you've had a chance to form a relationship with. For me personally, I got one of my science letters from a professor that I made a C in his course the first time I took it. And I retook that class, same professor. It was organic chemistry 2. And I retook that class with the same professor, and I made an A in his course. But in addition to that, I went to office hours, and I made sure he knew me on a first name basis. So whenever it was time to have a letter written, I feel like he was able to write me a strong letter. I also got 2 other letters from physicians that I work with. I'm a scribe in an emergency room, and I'll kind of go into that later. But I'm a scribe in an emergency room, and 2 physicians that I work with who I kind of worked with a lot and frequently, and I feel like I did well when I worked with them. I asked both of them for letters. So other things that you need, some other things that might help are going to be, sorry, that's my son in the background. Other things that I guess are not necessarily required, but some of them are probably required in some sense or another, depending on what school you applied to. Research. I did a 1.5 years of research in a molecular genetics lab, just working with beetles, and it was pretty cool. We got to do a lot of extractions, DNA extractions, and so I recommend doing some type of research. Something else, community service. Most people will tell you that it's better to have a few things that you show strong dedication to, as opposed to 1,000,001 things that you kind of dibble and dabble in here and there. So for me, I tutored underserved children for a while, and I did that weekly. And I'm also an advocate for children that are in foster care. I volunteer at my church. So for those of you who are involved in any faith-based organization, if you are going to put that on your application, make sure that you're actually committing some time and not just saying, well, I do, 30 minutes once a month. That's not really showing a strong commitment to that. Other things, jobs. I worked part-time and full-time throughout. It kind of bounced back and forth. I worked a job throughout my entire time in college. I started working when I was in high school, and I'm still working. And for most of that time, I was a medical scribe in an emergency room. So it's been awesome, and I've gotten so much exposure to healthcare. So I would recommend, if you have the opportunity, if there are scribe programs in your city, they're kind of blowing up. They're kind of getting to be more widespread. So if you have the opportunity to scribe, I highly recommend that you do that. Onto the application, I feel like I have a good piece of advice when it comes to that. Like I said, I'm a non-traditional applicant, and my grades, everything was not stellar. My MCAT was not stellar. My GPA was not stellar. But what I did have was I recognized my faults, I recognized my shortcomings, and I took my time and addressed those. And I made sure, to the best of my ability, I tried to assure the AdComs that I was not going to revert back to the ways that got me the grades that weren't so stellar, if that makes any sense. So take your time on the application. The application, I'm attending a Texas allopathic medical school, and so the Texas application is a tad bit different from my understanding than the national application, but pretty much you have to write a personal statement. There are essays involved, so take your time on the essays. I scoured the application, my essays, over and over and over and over again. I have my husband, who's a law student, scour my application over and over and over and over again, and make sure that everything made sense and nothing contradicted something else that I said previously. So that is my biggest piece of advice. Recognize your shortcomings, address them, and take your time on the application. That's my big nugget of advice, all bottled up into one. So moving on from the application, something else that you're going to have to do is go on interviews. You want to dress professionally. You do not want to be the least well-dressed person in the room. If they say a suit is not required, but it's preferred, please wear a suit, because it might be just your luck that day you show up and there are 30 applicants there and 29 of them have on a suit and one of them, which is you, does not. So it's better to be overdressed than underdressed. I've learned that so many times. My husband has these swanky events that he attends every now and then, and I love going, and I'm telling you, out of maybe we've gone to 3 events, 2 out of the 3 events, I was way underdressed, and I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb, and it bothered me the whole time. I couldn't even enjoy myself. I couldn't even live in the moment, because I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody has on ball gowns, and I have on a church dress. So don't be that person. Some other advice whenever it comes to interviews, make sure that you show up on time. Sometimes when I had 2 interviews. I applied to 2 schools, and thank God I got 2 interviews. Sometimes you show up to those things. They say be there at 8, and there's like a brief period where you kind of are eating breakfast and kind of walking around, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, whenever you walk in, you are greeted by somebody in the admissions office, and they give you your name tag and all of your other items for the day. It might not seem like it really matters to be on time because everything's very relaxed, but don't believe that. You can't tell what's important and what's not. The school that I actually got into, the interviews were very relaxed, and they made a point to say that the interviews were going to be very relaxed, and they're going to be conversations and everything like that. But at the same time, you don't want to look at that and say, okay, whew, now I can take a deep breath, pull up with an unironed shirt, show up about 15 minutes late. It's no big deal. They're cool there. You don't want to do that. Be very professional at all times. Greet everyone that you see from the time you pull up in that parking lot and you're talking to the parking attendant until the time you leave and you are asking someone where the bathrooms are. Be very respectful and show that you're happy to be there. We all know that you're happy to be there. This is an interview for medical school. You get the opportunity to become a physician. So you are happy. I hope you are happy. You've worked hard for this. So show it. Let it be known. You know, seem very pleasant. Be conversational. Be pleasant and put your best foot forward. If you want more insight on, say, the MCAT or prereqs or time management with being a mom, any videos related to being a mom and budgeting time or whatever, let me know. I'm more than happy to make those. And of course, after school starts, I will be giving you videos letting you know how I'm actually managing my time, being a mom and a wife of a law student and being a medical student myself. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment area, and subscribe, and you will hopefully be in for more insightful videos that you can use to help you along your journey in medical school. So till next time, see you later.